Am I the asshole for breaking confidentiality and making a surgeon lose his medical license? 6 years ago, my 35 male daughter died on the operating table during a complicated heart surgery. Her mother and I were told beforehand the operation was risky, and had a 50% chance of failing, but without it, she would have no other options. We were obviously devastated, but accepted that it was not an improbable outcome. Our relationship wasn't able to survive her passing, and we divorced a year later, partially due to substance abuse on my part and emotional infidelity on hers. I started attending AA meetings about 3 years ago, and after working with a sponsor, started doing much better about 6 months in. I began attending a different AA group after my sponsor moved, and one of the members at the new group looked extremely familiar. I couldn't quite place him, but after a couple meetings, he talked about being a surgeon. That's when I realized he was one of the surgeons involved in my daughter's surgery. I recognized his first name, looked through my daughter's hospital records, and figured it out. A few meetings later, when he expressed interest in being sponsored, I approached him after the meeting and offered to sponsor him or at least meet up and get to know each other. This isn't unusual for AA. I didn't tell him he had operated on my daughter. He opened up to me while we met and confessed he had performed multiple surgeries while under the influence, and in at least 2 surgeries where he was incapacitated, the patient died on the operating table. I was livid. I had no idea if he was drunk during my daughter's surgery, and I'm not even sure if he knows. But from what I gathered, he was definitely drinking and operating for at least a few years before my daughter. I tried to get more information about the patients, but he didn't divulge. I managed to stay composed, telling him the same bullshit AA usually tells us: it's a disease, it's not your fault, you deserve forgiveness. I asked if he wanted to meet up some other time, and he agreed. The next time we met up, I secretly recorded him, his voice, and his face, admitting to operating while drunk. Our state does not require 2-party consent, so this was not illegal. After a couple more individual meetings, during which time I was acting as his sponsor, I received more information about the patients. I spoke to a lawyer, then spoke to the hospital he worked at, presenting my recordings as evidence. The hospital began an investigation, and he was eventually fired and lost his medical license. When I discussed this with another member of AA, he got extremely angry, told me I was breaking confidentiality, and alienated me from the other members, banning me from the meeting. I believe I did the right thing, as this surgeon's actions were putting other people, including potentially my daughter, in danger. But I also see how they feel as though their privacy was violated. Am I the asshole for recording what an AA member said in confidence to their sponsor and making them lose their medical license? Edit. Since so many people bring this up, I don't care that I was banned from the group. AA, at least the meetings I attended, were toxic and failed to hold members responsible for their actions under the guise of being understanding of someone who is sick. Bro, he killed 2 people. Should you have not broken AA confidentiality? Maybe. But even professional psychologists have to break confidentiality if a patient is a danger to themselves or others. At least, was my situation in my state when I was a minor. He could have killed many more, and you have every right to report him. You saved the lives he would have lost. Drinking and driving is a criminal offense. Why would drinking and operating into someone be any different? Edit. Not the asshole. It's tough due to the confidentiality of it and what that entails, but at the same time this guy has other people's lives in his hands, and he's choosing to put them at risk by drinking. Ultimately, I believe you did the right thing, as it has prevented any future losses others may have incurred at his hands, and you already have a life that's been altered by them. The intoxicated operating and killing trumps the break of confidentiality all day. Not the asshole. Oof. This is a situation where you had to do the wrong thing to do the right thing. I'd say not the asshole. He murdered at least 2 people because of his drinking. He needs to face consequences for that. Not the asshole. But I'm torn. You may have saved more lives, but you violated the confidentiality of an AA member. One of their founding principles is that what's said in group, stays in group. They were right to do what they did. Sometimes there's a price to be paid for doing the right thing. He fucking killed people. Not the asshole. So I'm torn. I've been through AA nah. The 9th step is making amends. That doesn't just mean saying sorry, that means actually fixing your wrongs. I think technically you should have given him a chance to turn himself in and confess, because you can't properly recover if you're covering up a murder. But ultimately I understand why you did it, and I think you may have saved lives and given other families closure, so I will go with not the asshole. Christ. So I'm going to say everyone sucks here but soft on your part. Okay, he absolutely needed to be reported. He risked and in case of relapse could again risk other people's lives. But I understand your home group. You didn't do any of this for the sake of protecting other people. If your daughter hadn't died you probably wouldn't have cared to do anything about it. Bad motives and revenge have no place in AA and I back their decision to boot you. This is fake. Healthcare providers have their own alcohol recovery programs that allow them to get help while keeping their license. They would never ever attend AA because there's no protection for their license. It's extremely widely known about in the medical field and I know some people who have done it. They forgive many sins. It's very intense as well. For the first couple years you get tested like 3 times a week or some such. Fake. This sounds like the plot for a film. Yikes. Okay, you're a justified asshole. Like when a counselor has to break confidentially for others' safety. But, I do feel you let your personal feelings control you. As the man was getting help. My views of AA aside. As a scrub tech, I find it impossible to believe the operating room staff was unaware to the point that it took a miracle to come to light while in AA years after the fact. The whole department and cardiovascular team should be investigated. Not the asshole. In every case of confidentiality I've ever heard of, it comes with saying, unless someone, including that person, is in danger. It's similar to if he would have told you he was planning to commit suicide, or a murder with a gun or knife. Would you really just sit there and let it happen? I don't blame them for banning you. And I hope you're recovering nicely. But you did the right thing. This is fake as hell. There was literally just a post about someone ratting out on their brother's girlfriend because she was getting help for doing drugs and was apparently aggressive, but everyone called Op an asshole for breaching AA rules and telling her brother. This is just pushing that narrative, trying to see if they can get a different verdict by making a much more dramatic story. Op, try harder next time. Not the asshole. While I can understand AA members banning you from the group, Jesus Christ, that doctor murdered people. I think I will take violating someone's privacy over letting a multiple murderer get away with it. My condolences. That must have been chilling to hear him talk like that. It was his responsibility to come clean. He failed as a human being. Obviously the surgeon is an asshole for operating while drunk. In any other circumstance, I would say not the asshole. However, you gained this information through AA. Not only that, you volunteered to sponsor this guy with the intent of getting him to incriminate himself. AA is supposed to be a safe space where people can admit their failings and get help. I'm not sorry the surgeon lost his medical license, but you definitely deserve your ban from AA. This seems fake. Really fake. Not the asshole. Surely there should be some kind of rule about the anonymity aspect where members can report someone. His alcoholism killed people on the operating table. I'd say you aren't the asshole based solely on the fact that you could potentially save lives by reporting. If someone admitted to a hit and run, would it not be okay to report it? Not the asshole. Even therapists must report a patient who has killed someone, so people in AA aren't special when it comes to confidentiality. You did the absolute right thing. Even if your daughter hadn't been one of his patients, you did the right thing. Anyone who tells you it was wrong to break his confidence are flat out wrong. I'm sorry about your daughter, and I hope she wasn't one of his victims. Good luck on your sobriety. Info: is there anything in the confidentiality agreement that covers if someone has been directly responsible for someone's death? Because operating under the influence is a serious transgression and should be treated as such. Not the asshole. Your daughter died, he killed other people. You did the right thing. That man should not be allowed to practice medicine after knowingly operating under the influence. In my opinion, that's significantly worse than drunk driving. You obtained a confession from him under false pretenses. He was in a situation that he thought was safe to open up in, and you betrayed that trust. People seeking treatment for their addiction are consoled by the anonymity, and actions like this undermine the whole concept. If I were struggling with addiction and heard this story, I would be wary to try this path. That was absolutely an asshole move, and there are more victims than just the former surgeon. Welp. One story about AA made it to the front page, so now we get a deluge of fictional AA stories for the next 2 weeks. I'm going to say the lesser evil on this one. Ultimately, doing what you did may save someone the pain of going through what you experienced. Although I agree confidentiality should be taken seriously, I have always had an issue with said confidentiality being at the expense of lives. And if I were in his position, I would rather live through the loss of my job, than be potentially responsible for the death of a person. If not potentially another person. So sorry for your loss, man. And great work on getting yourself back on track. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. He killed people. I get that he's trying to get help, but he can't just walk away from that without facing the consequences. This I find really interesting. There are currently 2 posts on here regarding violating AA confidentiality. One is about a person recognizing the alcoholic doctor who failed to save the life of his child, and reported the doctor whose medical license was then suspended. The other is a person who recognized his brother's girlfriend and informed his brother. The overwhelming response for the op who reported his doctor was not the asshole, but the man who reported his brother's girlfriend was "you're the asshole." Now I understand there is a major range of culpability between the two, but where is that line drawn? In both cases the op violated the AA confidentiality to ensure the potential safety of others. Info. Did he admit to doing it in the past only, or is it an ongoing thing? I can see where you're coming from. If he is not doing it anymore, you absolutely are the asshole for violating confidentiality. I am sorry. If he was still doing it, then there is no way you are the asshole, as you are saving lives and it's okay to break confidentiality if someone is a danger to themselves, others, at least in my country. I am sorry for you loss and good luck on the sober journey. Absolutely positively 100% not the asshole in my opinion. That man spent years gambling with people's lives, people died as a direct result of his actions. Never forget the Hippocratic Oath, do no harm. Well, he did a hell of a lot of harm and now he gets to face the consequences. Think about it, if you hadn't recognized him then he would still be doing surgeries and more people could needlessly die. Everyone sucks here. I would be on your side, if you just made a complaint at the hospital or with police, or recommended to him to take a break or quit his job. Or talk to your sponsor what you should do. But acting like you are here to help him, manipulating him, making him trust you so you can film him without his consent. He knew that he needed help, that's why he was at the meetings. It just seems rather evil to me. I hope you are in therapy. I hope you're taking care of yourself and maintaining your sobriety. You were in a very difficult position and morally you did the right thing to protect his future patients, even if your motive was revenge. Find another group and take it one day at a time. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. He killed 2 people. Losing his medical license isn't harsh enough. If he had run 2 people over while driving drunk he would be in jail, and honestly I don't see how that's different. A big not the asshole. The guy played with your daughter's life. Confidentiality is worth nothing if you can save people's lives. The doctor took an oath and he broke it. He deserves to be in jail. This sounds like a screenplay. Not the asshole. Confidentiality will only go so far. He potentially killed 2 people. It's like when people confess to rape, murder and the such to a priest, that priest should report it because it's not some petty bullshit or mistakes that we over-contemplate. People other than themselves have been severely affected. This is such a hard situation and I'm really torn. AA was becoming a safe space for him and he put trust into you as a sponsor when he came looking for help, which in itself is not an easy thing to do. He was dependent on you and vulnerable and you betrayed that trust. But he betrayed the trust of his patients by operating on them drunk, potentially causing their deaths. That is unacceptable and heartbreaking beyond words. No one was more vulnerable than the people on his table and he walked all over that. He should not be allowed to practice medicine again, and what you did was difficult and a break of his trust in you, but ultimately the right thing. I hope he can find another way, maybe within another AA group, to keep his progress going and turn his life around. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Yes, you were the asshole for violating the privacy. But he straight up murdered at least 2 people. That's worse than breaking AA rules. This is the second report of an AA member breaking confidentiality today. I guess I'm not going back. God, the things I told them. I need a drink and have got to think this over. Not the asshole. You saved lives. And for that, your daughter didn't die in vain. She's looking down on you, knowing you are a hero to countless others. AA confidentiality rules are absolutely less important than reporting a doctor who's operating under the influence and has had 2 patients die under his care while he was fucking drunk at work. Fuck him. He's ruined too many lives to enjoy the privilege of confidentiality. Of course what he did is terrible. For all of the reasons others have stated. But you approaching him to be his sponsor for any reason other than help him in his recovery is fucked. Not the asshole. You did what was morally right. Imagine if it was someone else's child on his table. What a coincidence such an emotional story about violating AA confidentiality is posted on the same day that another story about violating the anonymity of AA was shared here. It's AA week then. Not the asshole. I know AA tends to value anonymity, confidentiality above all, but there was real harm being done. He absolutely should not have continued in his position. That being said, they were in the right to remove you from the group going forward. You definitely engaged in some purposefully misleading behavior and broke confidence. He admitted to killing 2 people. He may have killed your daughter. He may have even ended up killing again. Morally you did the right thing. Absolutely no doubt in my mind. I actually think you handled it really well despite the circumstances. I don't think I could have stopped myself from doing something I'm not going to talk about in this sub. Not the asshole. NTA, he killed people, all because he was drunk, and wouldn't get help. I don't care if you're a priest, he shouldn't be allowed to be a doctor. Not the asshole. He may have literally killed your kid because he was drunk. IDK how you think you could be the asshole in this situation because it would be considered life-threatening, which in the world of professional confidentiality agreements, you would be required to report. You didn't do anything wrong. Not the asshole at all. You have certainly saved many people from dying on the operating table due to his negligence. I am so saddened to hear about your daughter and truly hope he wasn't the cause of her passing. Well done X. I just hope you find the closure in this matter. Not the asshole from my side. You know. I'm going to go with Esh. Obviously what he did is unacceptable, and he should absolutely be held accountable for his actions. But you also manipulated the shit out of him to get the information you needed, and that was shitty of you because AA is supposed to be anonymous. I don't know what the right way to handle this would have been. But I just feel icky when I read about all your steps in gaining his trust deliberately just to fuck him over, not that he doesn't deserve it, but still. I'm very torn. Not the asshole. Even medical confidentiality only extends as far as no one's lives are at risk. If you believe the patient or people as a result of the patient's actions are at risk of harm, never mind death, you are duty-bound to report it as a doctor. I'm sorry about the loss of your child, and the surgeon's behavior.